All right, welcome everyone. Thanks for being here. We've got really an outstanding guest with us today. We've got Sara Ridgel with us. Sara is originally from Parowan, Utah. She went to SUU and graduated in 2009. Sara has 12 years experience working in nonprofits. She just 2 years ago started Policy Kings, which is a brewery right here in Cedar City. They make craft beer, and they have some avid fans, as you can hear. They host amazing events, and they create a welcoming environment for anyone who is 21 and over.
Yes, 21 and over. Have that in there.
She has 2 kids. She loves to read. She loves to be at the beach and to be outside. We are very glad to have with us today Sara Ridgel.
All right, guys. Super nervous, but thank you for having me. So yes, as you know, I do have some fans here. So I just want anyone to stand up that has been to Policy Kings or knows me. I'm going to make you stand up. I have one of my employees in this class, and he better stand up. Where's he at? Perfect. Welcome, right? Okay, so the first one that stood up, Matt, he's our brew house assistant. So he does a lot to help our beer be more incredible, right? So he was lucky that I was speaking so he could come and learn more about what he already knows, right? So, like Tyler was saying, we create a great environment for 21 and over. I gotta keep saying that. We're in Utah, right? For a place that was not here when I was in college. When I was in college, there was one bar, one tiny little bar that everyone had to go to. And now we're all on the same street, and there's 3 of us plus the winery, right? So my first thing I want to start out with, I'm going to do things a little different today, because being in beer and alcohol, the state of Utah tries to ruin your life, i.e. today. Before I got here, I woke up to a fun new law that was passed during the legislative session, restricting a lot of alcohol sales. It's affecting breweries and bars all over the state of Utah, right? No one knew these were happening. So I'm a little bit on a rampage today. So if you get a little bit of some swearing coming out, I run a brewery. We don't care if you swear, right? So you may hear that sometimes. Don't be offended. I apologize ahead of time. So yes, I woke up today to a notice from the DABC. Does anyone know who the DABC is? They're not the enemy sometimes. So it's the Department of Alcoholic and Beverage Control. It's a bunch of people who don't drink that make laws about people that want to drink. Make sense? I didn't think so. So I was on the phone with a representative and a senator this morning trying to get some laws changed, right? So if you come into our place, we can fill these things called growlers, right? So they're like either glass jugs or cans. They passed a law that we cannot do that anymore. Yes. I see some of my customers who are already pissed, right? So what that does is limit us, especially a brewery, right, in what we can do and our experience. So in our business, it is constantly changing and evolving to make everything work for this ridiculous state. But there are also some great things that happen with this state, like we didn't have a brewery when I was in college. I don't want to say how many years ago. I didn't do the math. Again, I went to Parowan. We don't focus on math at Parowan. So, I lost my clicker. Anyway, so this is us, right? That's my husband, Dre. That's what he likes to be called. Do not ever try to call him Dr. Dre. He does not like that. It's just Dre, right? He's the brains behind this entire thing. I just come out and do all the talking. So he makes me do all the nerve-wracking stuff. And he stays behind the scenes and he brews the beer and he creates the business plans and he makes everything work and run. So I do all the PR, marketing. When you're an entrepreneur, you're doing 1,000 things in one setting, right? So we brew the beer, which is awesome. Matt does do some of those things that help us. We run the business. We also try to become entrepreneurs for anybody who is trying to start a business. PR, marketing, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, it just goes on and on if you're trying to start a business, right? So, my question people always ask me why. And what I say is, why not? Like, I make beer for a living. How many of you do that? Exactly, right? So I make beer, we serve beer, we get to see people enjoy that beer in person, right? So it's one of the best jobs that I've ever had, obviously, because I was in the corporate world before this, right? Nothing wrong with the corporate world, but now that I'm my own boss, I will never go back. It's one of the best choices you can ever make, right? Scary as hell, but why not? Anything that you're talking about, convincing yourself of why you cannot do it, get that out of your head. That's why it took me 12 years for my husband to convince me to take the leap, right? I was in the comfort of a corporate job. I had my paycheck coming in every week, 2 weeks, I had my salary, I had my benefits, everything was very comfortable. Why would I leave that, right? But he always knew he's done working for anybody, right? So it took him a long time to convince me why not, as it may for some of you also. So I worked, this is gonna shock people, so when I went to college for family life and human development and early childhood. I know. And I want to be honest, at the time, there were no real jobs in that field. So I went into working with adults and children with disabilities for 12 years and a little bit of homeless services. So that's what I did before this. I was very passionate about it. I loved it. Took me 12 years to burn out. That is very, that doesn't happen often. Usually after a year, you're burned out, right? I am passionate about equal rights for everybody, right? Especially working in that field, especially having a diverse family, and especially being female-owned. You have to be for equality every single day, and especially in beer. It is very lacking in diversity in all aspects in craft beer, right? So, worked there for 12 years. For 8 years, it took us 8 years to get to this, right? So we sat on working on our business plan. For 8 years, it took us to go through our business plan of what we wanted to do. First, it was a nightclub. Then it was a bar. Then we started home brewing, right? And then it became beer. So your business plan changes multiple times, and it will not look like what it looked like when you first started to where you actually open your business. So that was the exciting part, right? Is that I got to finally leave this place. It took a shitty job, sorry. It took one of the worst jobs I've ever had in my life to get me to finally leave. Don't let that happen to you. Don't let that happen to you. Do it now. Do it when you graduate. Take the chance and do it. You may fail 10 to 15 times, but you'll find that one that's gonna work. Don't let it take 12 years and the worst job with the worst company to finally make you leave to try to do it, right? I'm grateful for that crappy job. I'm grateful for that awful company because it makes me a better employer. It makes me a better boss, right? It makes me not treat my employees how anybody ever treated in the corporate world. That's one reason why we started this. And maybe some of my employees don't feel that way. Hopefully Matt doesn't feel that way. But that's kind of a big reason of why we finally left. Don't wait. Just don't wait, right? So I want to ask you guys real quick, because if anybody knows me, I am a very emotionally charged, passionate person about everything. Some people that are here know me. So tell me, raise your hand and tell me, what are you passionate about? Don't be shy. I will not let anybody be shy, and I'll call on people. Go ahead. Woodworking. Okay. And what are you going to do with it? Perfect. Okay? Anybody else? There has to be something someone's passionate about.
Engineering.
Okay, what are you going to do with it?
Manage a firm when I'm older.
Why not own the firm?
So I'd like some extra time with my family.
I get time with my family. My family are at my business. My business is my home. My kids, that's their second home, right? You got to make the sacrifice, right? Don't make excuses. Manage it, then own it. That's what I say, right? Because then you'll always be working for somebody and it'll never be yours. You'll be making somebody else money. Anybody else?
Teaching music.
Okay. You're going to open your own place and teach it? I love it. Great. Come on. You got to be passionate about something.
I'm passionate about floral design. So
Yes.
I started my own business.
And she did. Right. It's true. But not, and the thing is, right? Is it awful if you want to work for somebody? No. Am I here to make you feel awful because you want to work for somebody? No. That is not what I'm doing. But nobody was there when I was in college to put that little piece in my head that I could do something different, right? It was go to school, get your teaching, go right into the corporate world, and that's what you have to do. You can do either. You could do both, honestly, depending on what your business plan is. So anybody else passionate? I'm getting that back row. Better raise your hand or I'm gonna call on people. You're right there in the middle with the glasses. I'm talking, right you? You.
Passionate about four-wheel drive.
What you gonna do with it? Everyone in Cedar's passionate about four-wheel drive. What makes you different? I grew up here. Mud boggin's the thing to do. You gotta get your truck dirtiest as possible. What you gonna do with it?
Right now we're building off-road cars to take the competitions and then see if we can start building them for other people.
Good, awesome. Okay, right there with the black shirt. I'm pointing right at you, yes. Okay, what are you gonna do with it after? And then in the NBA? Probably? Okay, I'll be watching for you then. I'll say I knew you win, right? Okay, what about red sweatshirt? Shouldn't have wore the red. Just called right out to me.
I'm passionate about making something with myself. So I have a small business right now.
Good.
Make something out of it.
Good for you. So, you know what's funny? I'm not passionate about beer. You know who's passionate about beer? My husband. I'm passionate about, and he told me to focus on this, right? Like I said, I'm passionate about equality in beer, in life, which is a very hard thing to take on, right? I'm passionate about women in business, especially in craft beer. For instance, that call that I had today, I could not tell you how much I was mansplained over that call today. And I had to keep my cool because I was representing my business. That happens all the time. But my job as being kind of, not at the top, but as being a female business owner is to try to make it a little easier for other female business owners. Making beer is awesome. It's hard work. But I honestly never dress like this to work. I usually wear my leggings and my tennis shoes and a tank top. Like that's what I'm usually in while I'm brewing. I don't ever have to dress up. This is the most you're ever gonna see me dressed up. Even my hair is done, right, Angela? Yeah, my hair is actually done. It's usually in a bun with the glasses on, maybe not, no makeup. That's kind of the life that I live because I don't have to look pretty to make beer, right? I don't have to look pretty to work behind the bar because I'm the owner. That's the great part. People just want to come in to see me and enjoy it. They don't care what I look like. They just want a glass of beer, right? But being a female in the beer industry is a 1%, probably a 2%. There's only 2% of female brewery owners. There's only less than 1% of black brewery owners, right? So we're hitting double right there. So our job, as you saw on the first slide, is bringing diversity through craft beer to culture the community, right? So we bring it through our events, through our music, through our beer labels. We just did an incredible beer release. So I know only the people that are 21 can get on our Instagram and Facebook. You can check it out. I would advise you to tag us, right? This is 21st century. Tag us in the class that you came to the to the thing today, talk about it, tag us, do all that kind of stuff. Just my little side note, because you're always trying to market all the time. But yeah, so our goal right now is there are only 55 Black-owned breweries in the United States. We are the only one in Utah, right? So our name has a really great, incredible history. That has been extremely whitewashed when you look it up on Google, as is all history when it comes to Black history in America. We know that, right? I'm going to be very blunt. If anybody knows me, I'm the ally in my family for equality, as I have to be as being the white person in my family, right? So I may get a little heated when I talk about some things today. But yes, the history of Policy Kings. So back in the 20s when Prohibition started, the mobs got in on bootlegging, right? The white mobs, Italian, whoever it was, but they were not allowing Black people to get in on the bootlegging business. Now, it was illegal. We all know. I feel like we're dealing with Prohibition again today. But so what happened was there was an all Black group. Sorry, I don't say African American. We say Black at our house. So I'm sorry if I offend anybody here. So there's an all Black group that brought the numbers game to the United States from overseas. The first person to bring it, his name was Policy Sam. So he brought the numbers game. They would run numbers. Bronzeville was known as the Black Wall Street. Everything was going back into the Black communities, into Black businesses. Everything was Black owned at that time. So when Prohibition ended, the money stream ended for the mobs, but the Policy Kings were still raking in millions of dollars, making money. So what happened? Take a guess. Speak out. Go ahead. Don't be afraid. Yeah, so that's been quite a few times that's happened. But what happened was they slowly tried to take them out, to take it over. And now what is the lottery today is what they started, the numbers game, right? So us being the first Black-owned brewery, my husband did grow up in the Midwest. We just thought that it would be perfect to bring that awareness in our history here. Now, when we tell this story to numerous white people, mainly older white people, no offense, they question us on the validity, right? I don't get questioned. I don't let anybody question me on what I'm saying, right? But I let them know, but they try to Google it. Try to Google it right now. You're going to find us first in Policy Kings. We're going to be the first thing you find on Google. But if you try to Google it, before we started this, you could not find any information on the true story of the Policy Kings. You could only find what happened with the mobs after, right? Now when you search it, you can find actual information since we opened. Now I'm not saying we're changing history. We're just bringing awareness of what needs to be known in America, which is every single thing that has happened leads back to the Black community, right? Everything. I'll fight you on anything if you want to talk about it. We'll argue about it later. But beer especially, right? So that's our whole history. So it's a lot of fun. You can come in, we have a book, we name our beers after certain specific Policy Kings or different, there were a lot of Black-owned banks, barbershops, clubs, speakeasies, everything. And we try to incorporate that in our everyday lives. So that is a lot of fun. All right, I went the wrong way. All right, get it together. Okay, so yes, I graduated from Parowan. Don't tell anybody, okay? I don't claim Parowan. Anyway, but I did graduate there. I played softball. I loved it. Then I came to SUU. I know I made the big journey, the whole 15 minutes to start my life here, right? Took me a long time to graduate, as you can see, from 2002 to 2009. Slacked off the first year, got married and had a baby in the middle of it, right? And then I just forced myself to finish because I was so damn tired of going to school. I wanted to be done. 6 years. This was back in the day, right? We didn't have trimesters yet, okay? So then after many years, then I finally became the co-founder of Policy Kings, right? And I love it. It is a struggle. We just dealt with a pandemic. We had our year anniversary 3 months before the pandemic hit. Did we expect to be hit with a global pandemic when we opened our business? No, and not one business could have prepared for that. Not one business plan could have prepared you for what everyone's been going through. But we're very happy that we've made it. Not out of it yet, but we're very happy that we are still here. As are our customers that come in with relief, asking daily, how are you doing? What do you need? Are you gonna make it? Sometimes I'm like, I don't freaking know. Like, I honestly don't know. But we're still here, right? That took a lot of behind the scenes work. And not everybody qualified for all the funding that the government was giving us, which we didn't. So, all right. So, I know I'm gonna push on this, right? Because, oh, go ahead, very back. Yeah, we only qualified for one round of the PPP. The second round, you had to have, they got more stringent. And so because we did a little bit better, whether it was $100 per quarter, we didn't qualify for the second round of the PPP loans. So, and some people don't realize that, right? They're like, oh, they qualify for the loans, they're good. We don't need to go in and support them, they're gonna be fine. That's not true. It's not true, right? Now was the time for our local community to come out. But we don't rely on our local community. Isn't that funny? What community do you think we rely on? Tourism. We get about 70% of our customer base from tourism. And that's a lot. So when we lost tourism, that was a big, big struggle for businesses like us, right? Because we are a niche. The winery is a niche. Breweries are a niche. Those are the places that people look for when they're traveling because they're used to that. They're used to searching online and saying, breweries in Cedar City. And finally, they can find one, right? So finally, they can come in and they can be like, wow, I never thought Cedar City would have a brewery. But we don't rely on our locals. When we needed them the most, they kind of came out. But we survived because Utah did their best to stay open as much as they could to allow the tourists to still come in and allow us to only be closed for 2 months. Okay, but again, being a brewery, mind this dumbass law that just went into play, we were able to do Growler Fills, and we were able to do like Growler Fills and things like that while we were closed. Now, if they were to close us down again, we would have no revenue of income because they changed the law. So, I'm pushing everyone in this class to talk to their representatives, their senators, and push that they make that change. They're making us wait till January now when I call today, right? So now we have to wait a whole year for them to make the change. I can do it. I started a business, a brewery in Utah. I can definitely do it. But it also is good to have help, and it's also good for, I say kids, but I'm not that old. But you guys your age to get involved, right? To know what's going on. So, all right. So, my business is not going to be like your business, okay? We self-funded our business. I'm going to tell you how. After 8 years of trying to figure out how to get business, to get a small business loan, you have to have experience. Tell me how you're going to have an experience when you haven't had a small business. That's a reality that everyone needs to know when you're trying to start a business, right? So we lived up in West Jordan. We had a beautiful, beautiful home. We sold our house. It was the only thing we could do. We took a real risk. Sold our house, and we took all that money we made from our home, went back to renting. I hate it. And we put it all into our business. Okay? Now here I am 2 years later, getting ready to expand. I still cannot get an SBA loan because I don't have enough experience. Tell me how that's possible. Let me tell you why. The bank, we're in the middle of it. We're in the middle of a discrimination suit with the bank, and we're also in the middle of the banks not understanding craft beer, right? So if banks don't understand the brewing industry, it is a $1 billion industry in the nation right now. Utah alone makes millions of dollars from the breweries in this state, right? So it's educating those banks, right? Switching to another bank. It's a lot of behind the scenes work that you have to do to try to expand. Are we gonna expand? Oh, we'll always figure out a way to do it. We always have to grind harder than everyone else. And whether you want to admit it or not, that's part of being Black owned in America. I had to realize that real fast. I knew all the other aspects of it, right? I didn't understand this aspect of it until we got into it, right? But my husband is nothing more than the hardest freaking worker, I said freaking, you're welcome, that I've ever known, right? So he will work day and night to create the most incredible business, which he has, but he is never happy. And you should never be happy with how your business is going, because then that means that it's not evolving, it's not changing, and it's not moving in a direction, okay? Who's bored? Don't raise your hand. Okay. Okay. So again, I absolutely love making beer for a living. It gets stressful, then all of a sudden we're sitting there brewing, and I'll just look at my husband, business partner, whatever, and I'll just say, can you believe we're just making beer? Like that we took this building that was in shambles, and we created this incredible place. Have you guys driven by or know where Policy Kings is? Okay, do you know where the pawn shop is on 200 and 100 that has the weird Native American statues outside? So we're in their parking lot. We have a big mural of Kobe Bryant on there, Prince, and our logo out there. Go and look, like go and drive by, check it out. I mean, you can drive by and people stop by and get pictures with Kobe all the time, because we just got that mural done when he passed away. But it's exciting to know that you want to do something that you love for a living. I didn't know I would love making beer and selling beer and talking to customers and having all this fun time, right? But I absolutely love it. All right, so we already went over this. Secondly, we hit 3 marks with our business: Black owned, female owned, and veteran owned. We are not majority female owned. My husband owns majority of our business. Who cares? We're married, right? So he owns most of it, so we can hit, it was more important for him to be Black owned than female owned. But I'm still, owner. So this was our release that we just did on this beer. It was our first double release that we did on this movie called Do the Right Thing, right? If you haven't seen it, go watch it and educate yourself, right? That's all I'm going to say about that one. All right, so I'm going to hit this and I'm going to take questions, okay? I'm just going to go over 2 more things. So we chose Cedar because we knew this area. Do you know your area? Do you know your people? Cedar is a poor area. You don't want to admit it. It is a blue-collar town with a median income of what, $30,000 to $40,000 a year. So you have to know what you're going to be able to serve. Are we going to be able to hit our price point? Do we still get complaints about $6 a pint? Yes. But people don't understand that they're getting something that is made directly on site. I'm sure you're not complaining about the price of the pizza at Centro, but they want to complain about the price of a pint of beer. It's not Busch Light. That's just disgusting. No offense if you drink it. We don't judge you. All right, so we had to do a lot of research. We looked all over Utah. The craft beer industry was just starting to boom 3 years ago in Utah. So we looked at where we could go where it was untouched. And where is that at? Down here in Cedar, where we were originally from. So we brought it back. Did we know it was going to be a struggle? Do I love living back here? It's taken me some time. It's taken me some time to be back here. When you grow up in an area and you come back, you run into somebody at Walmart the first day you're here. Oh, what are you doing back? Don't worry about it. That's all I say. Mind your business. All right, so we have live music every Saturday. We have trivia. We have a beer fest every year, right? Our beer fest is July 31st. It is open to all ages, but you only can be 21 and over to drink, right? But anybody can come and just check it out. Live music, food trucks, vendors, beer, and just awesomeness, right? SUU, Southern Utah's never had a beer fest. So we brought that. This is our third one. We did one during COVID. I know, sorry. We were too far into our event at this time that we just went with it. And we did it. And we actually had a pretty good event. No cases, so we were pretty happy with that. But this one's going to be about 500 to 700 people this year. So even if you're not 21, just come and check out what we what we have to offer. It's going to be a lot of fun. All right. So starting a business is not for the faint of heart. It is for the dreamer with the courage to take the leap. That's my own quote. Okay, Sarah's quote. It's pretty corny. That's just how I am. But it is true. Starting a business is not for the faint of heart. You cannot be weak-minded at all. That's where my husband comes in. He is very strong, right? You have to have a good business partner to help you, right? To get you where you need to be every day. But if you don't have the courage to do it, if you don't have the mindset to do it, wait and do it later. Or maybe the corporate world is for you. But don't be afraid to just try it, right? So now I want to take questions because I want everyone to ask a question. Don't be afraid. I will answer anything. Maybe. So now we'll just do questions. I think I have a little. Oh, that's us. We have great reviews, right? Reviews are essential. Do you guys leave reviews on businesses? You should. Please don't leave nasty reviews. Because no offense, you're not a connoisseur in what you're eating or what you're drinking, right? And it doesn't do anything but hurt a business, okay? But we work hard to keep our Google rating at least 4.8 and above. That is a great rating. We have one of the highest ratings in Cedar. Mind you, it's only 82 reviews, but it's a struggle to get people to leave reviews. The other one is our beer. So a 3.91 is we have the highest rating in the state of Utah for our beer. So that's saying something, right? You got to leave a review. You've got to help businesses make their way through, okay? So what questions do you guys have?
As far as like long-term goals, do you want to open other breweries or do you want to just kind of make policy?
Yeah, so our goal is to expand and to open a second location. Where, we haven't decided. We will stay in Cedar, but our goal is to expand and grow. That was kind of halted during COVID, but we are working towards that again.
Would it be here in southern Utah?
We're not sure yet. We're trying to decide. So St. George and Washington County has stricter liquor laws than Cedar City. So it's definitely harder to get something down in St. George. They just restricted their bar licenses that they were going to even give. So yeah, it's like Footloose down in St. George. Yeah, sorry, that's on camera. Cedar City is better than St. George in that way, right? So don't think that Cedar City is just awful and they don't want you to have fun. They don't want you to do anything.
Why Utah in general?
Well, we already lived here.
Okay.
We are already here. So I'm from here, although my husband's from LA and St. Louis. The beer industry was just so large there that we knew at the capacity that we were at, we could not compete. So we're a Nano Brewery, so that's on the really small end. So we brew about 70 gallons of beer each time. And we run through and switch out our beers. Probably, you will never find the same beer on tap. We're running through beer, probably put a new 1 or 2 beers on tap every week. So, in the back?
Do you bottle anything or is it just all on tap?
Oh no, we do both. So the cans I showed you on that last one, we do cans to go, but again, we're small, so we do them about once or twice a month. We do releases. That's where we tell everybody to just follow us on our social media so they can see. We sell out. Like Saturday, we did a release. We sold out in about a couple hours. So if you think that you can wait to come and get the beer, it'll be gone by the time we can restock it. And Matt is involved in all of that in the canning. He loves it so much. See his enthusiasm? We're hiring for another brew house assistant, just FYI, to help because we are getting busier. So it is fun. Yes?
On a positive policy note, what did it do for your business when Utah finally relinquished the near beer?
Oh yes, so in Utah finally, in 2019 November, when they finally went from 4% to 5%, it wasn't a big enough jump for us. We were wanting 6%, but what happened was some of the macro breweries in Utah decided to go against that and speak for the rest of us. And so they decided to meet in the middle and go to 5%. It is better but you get a better, more full-bodied beer at least 6%. So I think a lot of us, we should try to get together and push for an increase since they're already restricting us on other things. But it's helped. It was fun. You know, it was fun to finally, we did an end of prohibition. It was right at our 1 year anniversary. So we did an end of prohibition party, and we took the 4% kegs off, and then we brought the 5% kegs on. I mean, it was just a really cool experience because they had not changed it for 87 years since prohibition ended. And Utah was the state that ended prohibition. Did you guys know that? Why do you think they did that? Because Brigham Young and all the church leaders were going to get on winemaking. They sure were. Don't lie to yourself and think the church isn't involved in all aspects of alcohol. I was raised Mormon, so trust me, we know. Go ahead.
That was my question. What is causing the different changes in beer laws now?
Well, I wish I could say this one that happened was really behind the scenes. No one ever talked about it, and it happened in January. We got the letter today. So I couldn't say. One reason I will say why it changed is there were a few bars, right? We're a brewery, but we have to have a bar license to serve like our heavy beer that we make ourselves in our tap room where you come to sit down. Whereas you have a bar like the Warehouse or like Mike's, right? They don't make their own beer, but they're a bar, a full bar. So bars like that were not these guys, but up in Salt Lake, were actually filling growlers and selling those things during COVID as a way to try to get revenue, right? Well, Karen went probably tattled, and here we are. And that's what always happens. Somebody has to go say something, and that's a lot of the problems in the world nowadays is people just need to mind their business, and they just need to worry about what they're doing, right? Because we're not hurting anything, but that's what we have to deal with a lot. So that, I think that's what had a lot of play in it, is that other businesses were getting in on it. And so I'm trying to fight for at least having breweries be a provision of being able to do that, because that's part of having a craft brewery. Any other questions?
Sarah, can you talk, with that law, can you talk a little bit about the ripple effects of how that impacts tourists coming and kind of how that's not just local establishments, but that will ripple out?
So yes, because locals don't come and get a growler to go. During COVID, they did. Every single tourist that comes in with their growler into our place wants to get it filled to go, right? They want to try the beer and they want to get it to go. So what's the effect of people knowing that we cannot do that? What do you think it is? Are they going to come in? No, right? Because now what's the point? We can't do it. We had to announce it. We had to put it all over social media because we can't be the ones that decide to do it and then we get caught. We follow the laws. You know, they're there for a reason. But that's going to have an effect of tourists coming in and wanting that to go. Luckily, we haven't been doing Growler Fills during COVID. We stopped that because there was a lot of just not safety issues going on. And just a lot of like not sanitation, and we weren't able to clean them, and people were bringing just disgustingly dirty growlers to us, and I said, that's it, we're done. We're not filling them, right? And we're so busy right now, we can't even keep up with our capacity that we're at right now. But it affects all breweries in Utah. That's every single one. Every single law that they came into place affects one way or the other. So if you want to read it, if you want to learn about it, you can message us anytime, and we can point you in the right direction. Any other questions? Yes.
Are there breweries that help shape your thinking about what you wanted Policy Kings to be or maybe not be?
Yeah. That's Dre. Like, he is the massive researcher that is always researching different beers that are coming out, different breweries that are going. But our whole thing was, we had a niche, right? So we were bringing something that Cedar didn't have. And we were trying to bring, so we kind of shaped it into something just individualized to us. Do we take different ideas from different breweries if they say, especially with our outdoor area, they have something cool and innovative or a different beer that they're trying to put together? Oh yes, we always are looking for different ideas, as you should be, for different ideas and innovative ways to advance and keep going, because it never stops. So, but there's not one that we were just specifically looking at. Yes?
What was
That's a good question because we actually offer homebrew classes at our place. So homebrewing is something that you definitely have to be willing to put the time in and the money. It's not inexpensive. Like it's expensive to try to do it. You could probably start for under $300. Like we can get you set up. It's a lot of sanitation, a lot of time. But in the United States, you can brew beer at home up to, I think, 200 gallons and have those for yourself per year. You cannot sell them. That is against the law. You can give them away. But we offer a class. So if anybody's ever interested in learning how to homebrew, we do the class. Matt's going to help us. You know, he doesn't know that, but he will. And we just go through an entire small brew day setup, right? So you can learn how to do it. And it's addictive. Look where we are. You know, we did it like for a couple years and now here we are with our own business and it's exhausting. It's, 7 hours is a brew day and then you have to wait about 7 days for the beer to be completely done and ready to go out for people to consume. So there's a lot of things that go behind the scenes in the brew house that people do not know about. Any other questions?
If you brew your own beer, do you have to stick to the same alcohol?
Yep. And that's another thing with the legislation, right? So breweries are held to the same standard. People that come from out of state find that very ridiculous that we have to be held to the same standard as regular taverns or bars or restaurants or things like that. Again, that's something that needs to change, something that needs to be allowed. Go ahead.
I was referring to like home brewing.
Oh no, homebrewing you can do whatever you want. Just like us, we can brew whatever we want in cans and bottles. We can brew as high as a percent as we want. Just on tap, it's 5%. But now we can't put it into growlers, and now we can't put it into pre-filled growlers for you guys to pick up to go. Now we have to can it. Now let me tell you reality. The state makes money off of every single can we sell. I'm going to leave it at that. So why do you think they would change it? Exactly. It's all about the money, right? Any other questions?
Can you talk about, like when it sounds like you run into a lot of obstacles, and it's just not normal for this state. Can you talk about the purpose behind the brewery that keeps you going and helps you overcome these obstacles?
My kids, right? The main reason we started this was for my kids to have something to be passed down to them. We were trying to create within ourselves some generational wealth for our kids. And so that's the only thing that keeps us going is making sure that we can be able to give something to our family and also give something to the community that's lacking, right? So, and like I said, my husband, he's never gonna give up. You gotta have that fear of failure in the back of your mind all the time to keep you pushing forward.
Can I ask a follow-up? So, in terms of obstacles, can you think of any obstacle that seemed to be created dead end for you that actually created an opportunity?
Well, COVID actually created obstacles where we had an opportunity, right? Where when COVID closed us down for 2 months between March to May of last year, we were able to do beer to go, where the other 2 bars had to completely shut down. We were able to do Growler Fills before this, so we were able to still have a little bit of a stream of income to come in. Another thing is our outdoor area, right? We have a beer garden at our place. We were able to extend it during COVID to make it bigger, so we could have more people feel comfortable to come outside. So any obstacle that comes into play, we always try to find a way to get around it. Utah's not that awful. There's lots of states that have a lot of different weird regulations. It just so happened that today it hit the hot button that I had that call. So I'm a little, I'm better now. You guys have done great in calming me down. Great job. Any other questions? Go ahead.
Will you be disappointed if your kids don't want to continue?
I know one won't. I already know. My son. He's a basketball player, right? He wants to play basketball. He's pretty convinced he's going to make it to the NBA. He's great. He's a great ball player. Or he wants to sing, right? Or he wants to be a scientist. He's already informed me that, I'm not sure if that's what I want to do. Now, my 10-year-old, she's already ready to run it. She already talks to me about beer and hops. And You know, she's the one that's probably going to take it over. Would I be disappointed? Oh, hell no. They can take it and sell it and take that money and invest it into something else. I would be completely fine with that. I'm giving them money, right? I'm giving them a future. And what they choose to do with it after we are done with it, that is completely up to them. So I'm not one of those parents. Hopefully not. Go ahead.
What's some advice you would give to someone trying to open a club, brewery, bar in the state of Utah?
So you got to do your research, right? But when in doing your research, don't get discouraged. You need to reach out to somebody, right? When we were starting our brewery, the first thing the DABC said was, here's a contact. Reach out to them. It was another brewery. Reach out to them, and they'll be able to help you. But it's a lot of reading. It's a lot of researching. They put a lot of, it's just like when you sign a rental contract and there's all this information that you don't understand. That's the same as any DABC form that you're trying to fill out. I would say don't be discouraged and just do it, right? If you want to reach out to us, you want to reach out to another bar, like Reggie over at the warehouse just started his. But reach out to somebody. It's not that discouraging. I don't know how many liquor licenses the state has. They do it based on population. Population is growing, but it's also based on kind of like a lottery of if you get it, or if I get it, or if they get it. We happen to get ours because someone got their license revoked in our meeting. That's how we got our license. The state does not mess around with licenses, right? You got to follow the law and the rules. So, any other questions?
We probably have time for one more.
Yep, one more question. Who's going to be the last one? Don't all raise your hands at once. Go ahead.
So with the DABC, is that right? They kind of like help you in the sense of like giving you a mentor almost when it comes to
No.
pursuing?
No. They guide you into a direction of who else to talk to that's already opened a business, a brewery, right? So we reached out to, there's a brewery in Vernal. They were really great. We've talked to quite a few breweries and just like talking with them and knowing the rules and knowing the regulations. But Vernal Brewing was a very big help in when we were starting. So they pretty much pawn you off to someone else and then expect you to figure it out. And then you do, and you ask a lot of questions. If you ask a lot of questions, they'll answer them because they don't want you to bother them. I'm a botherer. I push people. I ask questions. I force them to give me answers. So that's the best thing I can do. If you want to do it, do it. And if you're over 21, definitely come in and say hi. I work on Mondays. Actually, I work tonight, don't I? Do I? Yes. I'm short on staff, so I'm working tonight also. So that's pretty much it. I appreciate you guys having me come. I had a great time. Hope it was too boring. Thank you.